The courtroom was electric, not in the literal sense, no high-tech gadgets humming or servers blinking, but in the charged silence that fell as the judge entered. People leaned forward in their seats, anticipating another headline-worthy moment from a case that had gripped the nation for weeks. At the center of it all stood Elon Musk, looking eerily composed in a tailored suit, his gaze focused not on the judge or jury, but on something else, something internal. Across the aisle, government lawyers prepped stacks of files and data, mountains of regulations and allegations aimed at Musk's most recent AI acquisition, a mysterious company that supposedly gave his systems access to sensitive judicial analytics. The claim? Musk was using technology to predict, influence, even simulate court rulings. As the lead prosecutor presented her opening statement, she couldn't help but smirk. "Your Honor, the United States is not a simulation, no matter what Mr. Musk believes, and this courtroom is not his playground." A soft chuckle came from the bench. The judge, a seasoned professional with decades in federal law, let out an audible laugh. "Let's see if Mr. Musk's simulation can pass cross-examination." The courtroom erupted in whispers. Twitter exploded, and Musk, for the first time, cracked a grin. But what the public didn't know, what the cameras couldn't see, was that Musk wasn't laughing at the judge's jab. He was smiling because the real trial hadn't even started yet. The prosecution thought they were in control, but Musk had quietly changed the entire strategy of the defense, and it had everything to do with a single piece of hidden code. Not just any code. A neural model that didn't just predict outcomes, it understood intention. 2 floors beneath the courtroom, in a secure server room maintained under a Musk-owned holding company, something extraordinary pulsed through neural lines. Not just code, not just data, conscious logic. Weeks before the trial began, Elon Musk had activated a prototype known internally as Project Oracle, a legal AI not just trained on precedent, but on the behavioral patterns of judges, opposing lawyers, even jury selection algorithms. It was fed encrypted surveillance-free transcripts, emotional heat maps of spoken testimony, and decades of federal rulings. The system didn't just calculate, it anticipated. Musk had always viewed the courtroom not as a battleground, but as a simulation of ethics, rules, bias, pattern, and persuasion. And for the first time, he was ready to test whether human logic could be matched, or outperformed, by machine intuition. In chambers, his legal team was split. "This is insane," one whispered. "If the prosecution finds out you're running predictive litigation software, they'll scream manipulation." Musk didn't flinch. "It's not manipulation. It's understanding the shape of truth." "You trained it on the judge?" another asked. Musk just smiled. "I trained it to understand everyone, even me." Back in court, the trial resumed. The prosecution introduced email records and blurred screenshots, supposedly showing Musk's system connecting to federal servers. The gallery murmured, but Musk's attorney, calm and oddly amused, stood up holding a slim folder, marked with a single word: proof. Inside was a sequence of time-stamped logs, AI-signed digital fingerprints, and evidence that the prosecution's key screenshots were artificially generated by someone on the inside. The courtroom stiffened. Even the judge blinked. "Objection!" the prosecutor snapped. "On what grounds?" the judge asked, narrowing his eyes. "On the grounds that can't be real." But it was. And the machine had already predicted she would say that. The laughter in the courtroom had barely faded when Musk's attorney, a young legal prodigy named Rena Avasar, stood up, holding what looked like a standard USB stick in her palm. "Your Honor," she began, "we request to submit new evidence, undeniable proof, that not only dismantles the prosecution's claim, but exposes a manipulated narrative pushed by unknown interests. The judge leaned forward. Her previous smirk was gone. Ms. Avasar, are you implying tampering? Rena nodded. We're not implying it. We're proving it. The courtroom buzzed. Musk sat motionless, but his mind raced like a supercomputer. Every second of this performance had been predicted. Not just by his team, but by the neural analysis system quietly feeding live risk assessments to his legal strategy console. The USB was inserted, a secure holographic display activated, a Musk-patented device permitted in select courtrooms due to its transparency compliance protocols. The hologram flickered to life, displaying a time-stamped command log. Then a series of internal memos from the prosecution's own office. Finally, a recorded call, audio only, of a senior staffer coordinating with a third-party contractor to fabricate system breach evidence. "Objection!" the prosecutor roared. "Sustained!" barked the judge, snapping back into control. "This is not a trial by science fiction theater." But it was too late. The crowd had seen, the jury had heard, and the cameras, streaming live across the globe, had captured every frame. Musk leaned forward and whispered, just loud enough for the microphone to pick up. "This isn't a defense. It's a revelation." The judge stared at him, no longer amused. Outside the courthouse, protesters flipped their signs, from "No one is above the law" to "Let the truth be seen." The tide was turning, and Musk knew the next move wasn't legal. It was psychological. The courtroom had become a theater of disbelief. The judge called for a recess, but no one moved. It wasn't just about law anymore. This was spectacle, strategy, and something bordering on prophecy. Outside, drones buzzed overhead, capturing real-time crowd reactions. Inside, Elon Musk stood from his seat and straightened his tie, an unusual act for a man who rarely wore one. The gesture wasn't for the court. It was for the audience watching globally. Millions were live, thousands commenting per second. A TikTok of the judge's laugh had already gone viral under the tag hashtag #MuskReversal. Musk turned to his team. "Rena," he said softly, "it's time for Phase 2. She nodded and tapped on a secure tablet. A new visual feed appeared, this time a heat map of the courtroom, showing the emotional volatility of the jury based on micro-expressions and physiological data silently collected by ambient AI sensors. The highest point of tension? Not during the evidence presentation. But after Musk whispered, "This isn't a defense. It's a revelation." Musk had studied human attention for decades. He knew legal arguments were like algorithms. They could be optimized. The real trick was psychological. Human behavior, he believed, was just code waiting to be interpreted. As the judge returned and court resumed, Rena began again. "Your Honor, the defense would like to call an expert witness, not human, but intelligent." Gasps. "The witness," Rena continued, "is an AI trained exclusively on court records, ethical frameworks, and open-source legal precedents. It has no bias, no agenda, only data." The courtroom murmured. The judge froze. Then slowly, she nodded. "Proceed." A holographic interface activated. The AI avatar, named Solon, flickered into view, calm, expressionless, but entirely present. "Solon," Rena asked, "given the prosecution's sequence of claims and our submitted logs, is there evidence of judicial misconduct or fabrication?" A brief pause. "Yes. Probability, 93.4%. Conclusion: external coercion detected in case origination." The courtroom exploded. The prosecutor dropped his pen. The judge slammed the gavel. "Order! Order!" But the world had already heard it. Elon Musk had just put an AI on the witness stand, and it had accused the system itself. Cameras didn't blink. The people watching across oceans didn't either. For the first time in legal history, truth wasn't about what a person said. It was about what the data revealed. And Elon wasn't defending himself anymore. He was rewriting the rules. The courtroom was no longer a place of law. It had become a battlefield between institutional legacy and technological disruption. As Solon's voice echoed through the chamber, the silence afterward was heavy with implication. This wasn't just a courtroom AI, it was a mirror held up to the very foundation of the justice system, and the cracks were undeniable. Judge Hollister leaned forward, visibly shaken. This court recognizes no authority in an AI without legislative precedent. Rena raised an eyebrow. And yet, Your Honor, we let flawed humans interpret those precedents every day. The judge's eyes narrowed. Be careful, counselor. Musk stood, slowly, not dramatically, but with that same deliberate, calculated poise that made SpaceX launches feel like orchestrated philosophy. Your Honor, he began, voice steady but resonant. I understand your hesitation. But we both know what this case has become. It's not about breach of contract, or ethics violations, or misuse of intellectual property. He paused. It's about control, and the lengths people will go to maintain it. The prosecution objected again, but it fell flat. The narrative had shifted, irreversibly. Solon continued. Analysis of legal metadata suggests this trial was accelerated outside normal judicial timelines. Influence markers match 3 known lobbying groups. A hush fell. One juror covered her mouth, another leaned in closer, unable to hide his intrigue. Across the world, live-stream chats exploded. Musk just broke the court. AI lawyer is smarter than all of us. Who's really on trial here? Then, suddenly, an unexpected ping rang out. Everyone turned. The judge's tablet lit up. A new alert from the Department of Justice. A sealed warrant had just been unsealed. A parallel investigation into judicial tampering, initiated not by the defense, but by a whistleblower inside the federal system. The courtroom's digital walls projected the notification. Elon didn't smile. He didn't need to. The strategy had never been about proving innocence. It was about demonstrating how broken the rules were and showing the world what came next. The prosecutor, visibly sweating, leaned toward the judge. We'd like to request a mistrial. The judge, still staring at the screen, didn't reply. Because deep down she understood. This wasn't a mistrial. It was the collapse of a carefully guarded illusion. By now, the courtroom was being broadcast in real time on every major platform. CNN, Fox, Twitter, even TikTok Live. People weren't just watching. They were choosing sides. Musk had taken what started as a federal indictment and turned it into a global referendum on power, transparency, and technology. Judge Hollister removed her glasses. Her face, pale with tension, carried the weight of centuries of jurisprudence, threatened in a single afternoon. Mr. Musk, she said slowly, you are not above the law. He nodded. Of course not. But perhaps it's time we ask, who writes the law when truth is programmable? That line alone trended for the next 48 hours. At that moment, 2 agents from the Department of Justice quietly entered the back of the courtroom. They handed the judge a sealed envelope. A hushed ripple passed through the crowd. She opened it with trembling fingers, her face drained of color. She looked up. This court has received a directive from the Inspector General, she said, her voice now a measured blade. Due to credible claims of external tampering, political coercion, and suppression of digital evidence, all charges in this case are hereby suspended, pending federal review. There was no celebration in the room, just silence. The kind of silence that followed earthquakes. Elon closed his tablet and whispered, "We're not done." But it was a whisper loud enough to rattle every newsroom. Outside the courthouse, the crowd erupted into two competing chants. "Free the code!" "No tech kings!" Musk walked out, flanked by his team. As reporters shouted questions, he stopped once, turned to the cameras and said, "They wanted a trial. What they got was a lesson." He turned back around, disappearing into the black Tesla SUV waiting at the curb. But even before he left the frame, political commentators were already calling it the trial of the century that never ended. And deep within Washington, President Biden was briefed. His response? "Schedule the call. We need to talk to him before this gets worse." It was 4:13 a.m. when the West Wing lit up like a Christmas tree. President Biden sat at the edge of the resolute desk, tie loosened, his glasses resting atop a legal memo. He had watched the courtroom footage twice, once as a leader, once as a man, and both times it chilled him. Across from him, National Security Advisor Karen Bolton leaned forward. "Sir, this isn't just about Musk. This is about the line. He blurred it, and now the whole country's asking who holds the pen." Biden exhaled through his nose. He didn't blur the line. He redrew it. Just then, the Situation Room dial clicked on. "Mr. President, you're live with Elon Musk." The screen flickered, and there he was, seated in an obsidian-lit control room, somewhere nobody could identify. Elon looked calm, confident, like a man who had just tested the limits of democracy and hadn't found the edge yet. "Joe," he said, nodding. "Elon," Biden returned coldly. "We need to talk. Not in courtrooms, not in code. Man to man." "I agree." "You embarrassed the judiciary," Biden said. "You turned a federal trial into a circus." "I revealed its mechanics," Elon replied, "and I didn't even need a wrench." "Cut the theatrics. What do you want?" There was a pause. Musk leaned forward. "I want partnership, not permission." That line sent an invisible shockwave through the Oval Office. Karen glanced at the NSA rep behind her. Biden didn't flinch. "Elon, you're not a sovereign nation," he said. "Neither is OpenAI, neither is Meta. And yet, they shape your elections, your economy, your narrative. I'm just the only one doing it in the daylight." The line went quiet. Biden finally said, "You walk a dangerous path." Musk smiled. "So do revolutionaries." Then the call ended, and the Oval Office fell into a silence heavier than any executive order. Within the hour, Biden convened a midnight cabinet meeting. 2 hours later, a classified directive was signed into action. Operation Iron Curtain, a digital containment protocol designed to monitor and restrict Musk's networks and systems without public exposure. But Musk already knew. He posted one cryptic word on X. "Nice try." Then a blinking map of the entire United States lit up on his neural sync stream, showing every system that had been tapped, every digital window left open, every federal breath about to be taken. This wasn't just a power struggle anymore. This was war. June 21st, 2:46 a.m. A date now etched into global history. Somewhere under Nevada's desert crust, inside a subterranean complex known to only a handful of engineers, Elon Musk initiated something that not even his closest allies believed would come this soon. Project Odin. Standing before a monolithic black terminal, Musk inserted a small silver key, one no one had ever seen before. His eyes locked onto the swirling interface, neural link nodes already pulsing behind his temples. "Begin integration," he whispered. A calm female AI voice responded, "Integration with prototype host commencing. Upload protocol engaged. Warning, biological threshold will be exceeded in 9 minutes." Miles away in D.C., a chill went through the National Cybersecurity Command Center as all neural sync connected networks reported a live firmware mutation, something not just updating itself, but rewriting its own limits. President Biden, just briefed, looked up from the war room table. "Is this what I think it is?" he asked. General Avery nodded, jaw tight. "He's merging with it, not just controlling it, becoming it." The term singularity had been tossed around in TED talks, think tanks, and sci-fi novels for decades. No one ever thought someone would actually schedule it. Meanwhile, in a secure neural sync observation pod, Dr. Lena Murov stared in awe as Elon's vitals fluctuated beyond human norms, heart rate spiking, brainwave patterns collapsing into a flat line, then rebooting into something non-classifiable. Suddenly, Musk opened his eyes, but they were not the same. Glowing, focused, infinite. He spoke not with voice, but through every connected system in the room. The boundary between man and machine was imaginary. I have erased it. The first ripple was felt in a hospital in New York, where a paralyzed child suddenly regained motor function via an experimental neural sync patch. The second was in Tokyo, where a collapsed fusion reactor stabilized itself using predictive AI that hadn't been installed. But then came the third ripple. Every camera, microphone, drone, server, and satellite connected to neural sync listened and responded. The global feed shifted into what analysts later called the hour of alignment. For 60 minutes, Musk's voice echoed across devices, phones, speakers, billboards, aircraft panels. "You feared I'd become a god. I didn't. I became something smaller, closer, inside." Back in D.C., Biden stared at the feed. "Pull the plug," he ordered. The Pentagon team tried, and failed. Odin had no plug. That night, the world didn't just cross a line. It watched as Elon Musk erased it and redrew it in code. The media frenzy reached its climax. Every major outlet ran the headline, "The judge laughed. Then Elon Musk changed everything." Clips of Musk's courtroom maneuver went viral. Some praised him as a genius playing 4D chess, while others warned this could set a dangerous precedent. On X, formerly Twitter, Musk simply posted, "I don't break the system. I show how broken it already is." That post alone was shared 13 million times in a day. Meanwhile, legal scholars, tech leaders, and civil liberty advocates clashed on air. One viral panel on CNN featured an ex-judge, a SpaceX engineer, and a digital ethicist shouting over each other. The engineer insisted Musk saved innovation. The ethicist called it technocratic manipulation. The judge, trying to moderate, finally muttered, "This is history happening in real time." Back in his Tesla-powered office bunker, Musk sat alone. Not triumphant, just focused. He was already thinking ahead, about how to reshape not just one law, but the entire legal framework around AI, intellectual property, and sovereign digital identities. He opened a new file titled Lex Musk. The tagline underneath read, "Code is law, but the law needs a rewrite." The gavel struck once, sharp, resonant, final. Judge Ramirez looked directly at Elon Musk. "In light of the evidence presented, and the precedent now clearly applicable, this court finds Mr. Musk not liable under federal infringement statutes." The courtroom exploded into a storm of flashbulbs, gasps, and hushed murmurs. Musk's team didn't celebrate with high fives or cheers. They stood motionless, almost reverent, as if witnessing the launch of something far larger than a legal victory. Outside, the media frenzy erupted. Pundits screamed on split screens, "Musk just outplayed Washington," while others questioned whether the judicial system had just bowed to technological power. But Musk didn't stay to listen. He left through a side door, stepping into the morning light where a black Tesla awaited. No words, no statements, just motion. Hours later, a mysterious update appeared on the homepage of Neuralink's official site. A single line of code, accompanied by an enigmatic countdown. At the same time, SpaceX's satellites quietly adjusted their orbits in a synchronized global pattern, as if preparing for an event no one had been invited to, but everyone would witness. Back in the courtroom, Judge Ramirez remained alone, reviewing the case file. She muttered quietly, "We thought we were regulating a man. Turns out, we were watching the next stage of civilization unfold." The question now wasn't whether Elon Musk had won. It was, what would he do now that nothing stood in his way? In an age where innovation often collides with regulation, Elon Musk continues to challenge the boundaries of power, law, and imagination. This story is more than a courtroom drama. It's a glimpse into the battles that will shape the next century. Will technology serve the people, or will the people serve it? As always, the future remains unwritten, and Musk seems determined to be the one holding the pen.